Welcome back, folks. We have Freedom Forum 1 on this day of, what is it today? 3rd, 2nd?
Today is December the 2nd.
12/2/2015. We have the show tonight with a little bit of a heavy heart tonight. You don't see Mr. Tom here. Mr. Tom is in the hospital. For those that don't do an ICU, he had a stroke a week ago Tuesday, and he's in a fight for his life. Look, there's two of me.
Mine.
Let's before we give an update on Tom, let's say a prayer. Lord, it's been a challenging time for some of us in this room. It's been a stress on our lives when our good friend Tom went down with the stroke. All we ask, Lord, is that you put your healing hand on him, heal him, and get our brother back so that we may enjoy him again. We pray for our country. We pray that we keep our enemies close so we know what's near. We pray for peace in the world. In your name we pray. Amen. Tom is, I visited today. He has good movement in his left side. He has feeling in his right side. A lot of things going on. There was a pulmonary doctor today. They're going to do a tracheotomy to make some things easier for him. It's, I've been putting out updates on Facebook and through my membership in my organization. There's not a whole lot to update. It's going to take, I think, some time for the motor skills.
Could be up to 6 months.
Yeah. Anywhere to 3 to 6 months. I also like you to pray for a friend of mine's sister, Nicole Cockerham, her sister. Her sister is 43 years old, and they tried all their married life to have a baby. They had a baby, and a week later she had a stroke. So she is actually in the same ICU as Tom. So it's been a heavy heart. We just have to keep praying for Tom. I definitely appreciate, and Brett and I and all who are involved with Tom, definitely appreciate all the prayers and responses we got on Facebook and with the organization.
Tom's prognosis looks good. When I was up there, I spoke with one of the nurses, and they said that Tom was breathing on his own, which is a very positive sign.
Absolutely.
And he's done some other motor skill functions that were surprising for someone that's just had a stroke. Also, his stroke was on the left side, so that means his right side will be affected. He does have feeling and some movement in that right side already. Also, the right side of his face has not been affected, as you do see with some stroke victims.
Amen.
So all of these factors together, everyone is hopeful that he will have a speedy recovery. So I'm here tonight assisting my good friend Jim with the TV show, and tomorrow night I will be facilitating the meeting at Elise's at 6:30 normal time. So we will continue the TV show and the meeting as it always was.
We discussed that. We knew that when Tom does get back, one of the first things he's going to say is, what about the TV show? What about the meetings?
That's the first thing that I spoke to his wife, Peggy, about. I said, when Tom comes to a level of consciousness where he understands what you're talking about, I told her, tell him two things. Jim's got the TV show, and I've got the meeting, and everything is under control, so just relax and just take a break.
Yeah. You want to explain maybe a little bit about what you're going to do tomorrow night?
We're going to continue the Elise's meeting as normal. We're going to cover some of the topics that we're going to talk tonight just in more detail. I've got some interesting self-defense information that we're going to put out. We're going to go into detail about former Navy SEAL Matt Bracken's view of the world right now with the current wave of Islamofascism that is overtaking the Middle East and spilling over here. And I'm going to go into some herbal medical developments, some things that I've been working with, especially for y'all that have arthritis, rheumatism, things like that, that you can take that'll definitely benefit you both on the skin and internally. And we're going to cover all that tomorrow night. So 6:30, be there.
Okay, we have a couple things coming up. There's the Christmas parade on Sunday, this Sunday at 1 o'clock. The military veterans will lead the parade. I'm not going to be able to make it. But the parade begins at 1 p.m. in downtown Lafayette and ends in the Oil Center. Veterans will assemble at noon at the corner of Jefferson and Vine Street downtown. If you prefer to park in the LGMC parking lot, that's the one where all the doctor's offices are behind the Burton Rio Center. And then transportation will be available for those veterans who want to ride in the parade. If you're unable to walk, they usually hand out small flags and stuff. There's another meeting tomorrow night which people got to me late. This has to do with the I-49 connector. It says join the Sierra Club tomorrow, December 3rd, 2015. And learn about the $1 billion Lafayette I-49 connector project. I'm not quite sure where the Sierra Club is. Anyways, I got this late this afternoon. It'll be, there it is, Thursday, 6 p.m. at the downtown library. So if you want to attend that. And then next week, we're going to have the Acadiana Patriots meeting. That'll be at the Robichaux Recreation Center, located at 1919 Eras Landry Road. Come and enjoy a Christmas celebration with the Patriots, bring friends, and meet patriots who love their country and want to make a difference. It's our third annual Christmas celebration. Usually this gets people to the meeting.
Good.
With ham and turkey and all the fixings. I talked to my main person in charge of that today.
And the food is always good.
Oh, yeah. Also, we have invited newly elected and incumbent legislative members, also newly elected officials, and some that didn't make it. Going to be some updates on the Syrian refugee situation and my discussion with Monsignor Millette. We will update Tom's health issue, and Brett and I will give you the update on Freedom Forum meetings and the AOC Freedom Forum TV show. Join us for the end of 2015 and get involved for 2016, because we are fighting for our freedom and everyone needs to step up and get involved. God bless all of you. See you on the 10th. And the food is good, probably coming from Earl's.
Excellent.
Some of it will be cooked by
I can
certain
attest to
people.
that. I have eaten quite a bit of the food at the Patriots meeting, and I can honestly say that I have been keeping up.
I had when we had Brett Guyman, he said,
yes.
Y'all do this every week, every month? And I said, yes. And y'all going to have to bear with me tonight. I got a cold.
That's why I'm sitting over here.
Yeah, he's sitting back as far as he can.
We have quite a bit of news to cover tonight.
I just,
We're loaded up.
yeah, there's, this is usual though.
Where you want to start, Jim?
I don't know.
You want me to start with
I
international stuff?
there's a book. I circled this because we talk about what's going on in it.
Sheriff Mack.
Yeah, it's a book called County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, Sheriff Richard Mack, and it's quite awesome. We gave this actually to all the sheriff's candidates. Tom did, actually.
For the viewers' information, what we're talking about, Sheriff Mack is a retired sheriff that went on to form the Southwestern Sheriff's Association, and in this association, what he did was to gather a group of what we call constitutional sheriffs. As some people don't know, the sheriff is the most powerful political elected official in their jurisdiction. They override everyone. And too many sheriffs do not understand the depth and the breadth of the amount of legal power that they have. And this book goes into detail. And what Sheriff Mack has done is to get a lot of these sheriffs to join this association and educate them. And for example, one of the more recent squabbles that a sheriff had with the feds was out in Siskiyou County, California. For those of y'all who don't know, Northern California is very conservative like we are here. It's not like LA with all the things that go on.
That is a shock, though.
Yes. And what was interesting was Sheriff Lope out there was getting complaints from the citizens because the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, shut down the county road going through the national forest, and their rights were being restricted. Well, he started doing some research, and then in the same time period, the head of the BLM in that sector calls him up and wants him to deputize his park rangers. And the sheriff was very much flabbergasted because he goes, "Why do feds need to be deputized?" That's when he got the 411 after researching it, that the Constitution does not provide for federal law enforcement, that these forest rangers had no arrest powers whatsoever other than what was delegated to them by the sheriff. And what happened is later they got into a nice squabble, but they did not get deputized, and he won that fight. Now, there were some repercussions for him, but he has bore up on it.
There always is on all this.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a piper.
But I thought tonight, I read this whole book while I was waiting for my car to be fixed at Ray Chevrolet. It says, "So what do we do to get our country and our Constitution back?" Good question today. How do we protect and defend America? Well, we start right here. It's not going to happen in Washington, D.C. Tom and I said that all the time on the show. Forget Washington, D.C. If any of you believe that putting another Democrat or Republican as president is going to accomplish anything relative to freedom, then I've got beachfront property for you in Omaha.
Down here, that means it's property under the Basin Bridge. It's never flooded. That's what that means.
Right. We must start at home, in our counties, and here it's parish, in our own spheres. We must erect the barriers and keep those at bay who would confiscate bank accounts, guns, land, property, and children. Sheriff, this book is written for the sheriffs. Sheriff, you are the people's sworn protector. You cannot shrink from that duty merely because the violator comes into town with a three-piece suit and a fancy attaché case.
Jim, is that kind of like the Yankee carpetbaggers that came down here right after the War of Northern Aggression? Very similar?
Very similar. The thing is, I've had a discussion with our newly elected sheriff, Mark Garber. He has a copy of this book and says he will read it. We gave it to him during the campaign, which was pretty challenging. There was the back of the book has one of our favorite sheriffs in the back, and I'll read this, and then we'll move on to Brett.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Both of these guys are from Arizona.
Oh yes. And Sheriff
Kind
Arpaio
of tells you something about Arizona.
Sheriff Arpaio is still fighting the good fight. The current regime is still after him because he chooses to enforce the immigration laws, much to the chagrin.
Absolutely. And he's, I didn't realize, he's 83 years old.
And he's the most popular political official elected in the state.
Yeah, not in the state, but in Washington, D.C., he's not real popular. In 1994, Sheriff Mack took a courageous stand to defend the U.S. Constitution. This is Sheriff Arpaio talking. To defend the U.S. Constitution and the autonomy of sheriffs against the Clinton administration. His lawsuit and subsequent victory at the Supreme Court proved once and for all that the sheriff is indeed the ultimate law enforcement authority in his county and in this country. He is not a bureaucrat, and he does not answer to one. He answers to his boss, the citizens. The sheriff is the employee of the people and exists to serve and protect them in all matters. This book should be read by every citizen, police officer, and especially each sheriff of these United States. that we may become united in our service to the American people and dedicated to the preservation of those precious freedoms that so many have fought and died for. To uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution is our primary duty and our sworn responsibility, Sheriff Gerald Farrell.
And he's done that.
Oh, there's no doubt he's done that. I was looking here where you could go to, you can visit www.sheriffmac.com to find out and order copies of this book. But I found this was, I mean, I knew a lot of this stuff, but it was very educational.
Oh, it is. It's a deep subject too, because for some reason the sheriffs in America, and I'm using this as a generality, were not aware of the actual amount of authority that they have and the depth of their reach and the things that they can do. Oh, we have a phone call?
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, how's it going, Jonathan North here? Look, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes?
Yeah.
Doing a great job. The importance of the sheriff can't be stressed too much, and people need to really understand, and the sheriff needs to understand they're the last bastion protecting our constitutional freedoms. Between the sheriff and trial by jury, and those of us who are called to serve on juries need to realize the importance of that.
Well, like Jim said, during the campaign, both he and I spoke with current elect Sheriff Garber, and it's very promising. Sheriff Garber is a very well-educated, very well-experienced man.
Constitutionally.
And his experience at the federal level as both a Secret Service agent and at the local level as a prosecutor, I believe gives him a unique handle on exactly the challenges that our sheriff needs to be able to tackle. And I have every confidence in Sheriff Garber that he will quit his responsibilities with the authority he needs.
On top of that, due to those conversations, he knows we're watching.
Oh, look at Jim here.
But it is something that that reading that book, the realization that most sheriffs don't realize the
That's
power
true.
that they really do have.
Can you hold the book up so we can see the title of it? So we can see the title of it.
I don't know if you're going to be able to see it.
Oh, okay.
It's here, Hartwell.
It's a very thin paperback.
It's about 45
paperback.
pages.
Where can we get a copy of it?
Go to www.sheriffmac.com.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. God bless y'all. Keep up the good work.
Thank
you,
you. Bye-bye. And I'll tell you what, it was really worth my time to read that.
Very educational.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you knew. Here's another call. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Go ahead. Hello.
Oh, well.
Yes, I'd like to know if y'all really believe that this country will...
Will what?
Huh?
Well, oh well. The thing is that, and I reading this and sitting there was pretty interesting in the fact that a lot of things that over the last 6 years that I've studied and learned, but no, I honestly don't think all the sheriff's candidates that we had that ran this time, they actually understood that.
Well, that's good.
Each one of them stood for the, knew what it was about.
Every law enforcement officer that takes his job seriously should read this type of material and understand where their authority comes from, realize what the limitations of their authority are, and understand what they're there to do.
He's written, well, he has references, but I know that he's written more than this book. There's more books written than this. He wrote Sheriff Mack wrote The Naked Spy from My Cold Dead Fingers. I can imagine what that one is.
Charlton Heston-esque.
Yeah. The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, Vicky, Sam, and America. So he's written 4 other books, but like I said, if you go to sheriffmack.com, all the information is there. So I just want to say one more thing, because we pray every time. And we really have a delusional individual in Washington, D.C.
You're being generous.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, well.
I
anyway,
understand, Jim.
That's one of my rare moments.
I understand, Jim. I understand. Folks, Jim is being polite.
Unreal. Obama issues sick demand about how every American should pray.
My.
I didn't know that he was my Lord and Savior.
I didn't realize that either.
You know? I mean, I was going to say for God's sake, but that don't quite fit with this.
No.
We don't yet know what this particular gunman's so-called motive was for shooting 12 people. What's that got to do with telling me how to pray?
I don't know.
It's like, it's a little late, Barack, but then it's too late to hope that any praying person would listen to you anyway. It's in the article.
My.
I mean, the last thing Americans should have to do over the holidays or any day is comfort families of people killed by gun violence. You see, again, this has all come down to how to pray, and it's all a lead-in to gun control.
Folks, if we look around worldwide, we can go to China and we can go to the Sudan. In the Sudan, they estimate that several thousand people in the upward range of 80,000 to 100,000 people have been successfully murdered by people armed only with machetes. They don't have any guns. So the whole concept that the gun by itself gets up, runs around, and chases people is a fallacy. If we're going to do that, then we have to start going after Ford Motor and Chevy and GMC, because those cars are killing people terrible in those DWI accidents.
Yeah,
oh, wait.
well.
And Jim, if we're going to do that, then we got to go after Anheuser-Busch, Miller, and Schlitz.
Spoons and forks, too.
They cost that people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's their fault.
I mean,
It's true.
you know, we make light of this, but that's not making light of it. That's about how stupid it is.
Well, actually, Jim, it is the cover, because the big issue is that the regime does not want we mere citizens to have guns.
Oh, no.
Another call.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Jim and Brett, how y'all doing tonight?
Hey, John.
Hey, you goat herder, how we going?
Well, it's hard to have a herd with one goat.
Did you still got one goat?
Yeah, I'm still looking for another little one about her own age so I can have her a friend. She's kind of rough on the chickens.
We hear that a lot overseas, too.
I was calling about that thing that happened today in California. Did that happen in a gun-free zone?
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, if you wonder.
You know what's funny?
Everybody, they ought to pass a law that anybody that wants to can carry.
Well, you know what's the funny thing,
The Second
John?
Amendment guarantees us the right to carry.
Have you noticed that you never have any of these things happen at a gun show?
No, they,
Safest place to be.
yeah, gun shows is pretty nice, even though it costs like $8 to get in.
All the women and children are safe. Everybody has a good time, and none of this
you get
foolishness.
groceries there and soft drinks and
Hey, at the
all
Lafayette gun show.
merchandise and drool on it.
Yeah, the Lafayette gun show. That young lady who cooks that
Jambalaya.
yeah, that jambalaya. Oh Lord.
Some
Yeah,
awesome
you do a
stuff.
Good job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't want to eat that, you can always get MRE.
There you go. Yeah, John. It's,
Those
I was
eat
just,
those,
I was
though.
just wondering if that happened in a gun-free zone, you know.
and John, the interesting thing about it was the current report was there was at minimum 3 individuals masked up, military garb, some type of long rifles were used, and I will be very curious, Jim, to see what comes out of this and who is behind this and why.
You know,
yeah,
already
I'd like
yelling,
to know some names.
already yelling gun
The names
control.
they got on them, you know.
You know, those long rifles just stood up on top of the car and started shooting
By themselves.
by themselves.
They get
Yeah.
loose regular. It's a terrible thing.
I really get tired of it.
I like my long rifle for hunting.
They're probably gonna blame it on right-wing domestic terrorists.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Because it was county
Oh, yes.
employees that were attacked.
Oh,
It was what?
County employees.
County employees?
Yeah, they didn't say what age.
It was a party.
Yeah,
It was some kind of party.
it was a meal. They were serving a meal.
Yeah.
It was county
Well,
employees.
then,
It
that
probably
ain't good to
wasn't,
go to a party.
Well, the problem was the meal probably wasn't California compliant for emissions or dieting, so something
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, but the other thing is they might have had pork.
Yeah, we can't have pork. Oh no, we don't want to offend
No
anybody.
pork.
Well, give me that ham and cheese sandwich.
There you go. Give me those
Yeah, I'm
cracklings.
gonna see y'all tomorrow night. That's
All right,
Have a
John.
good one. Good seeing y'all on the tour.
Later, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Adios.
Bye. He's a character.
This is a good time to
I
start.
call him the goat herder.
Oh,
now.
This is a good time to start talking about what's been going on currently with
Wait,
our
got
good
another
friends from
call?
ISIS.
Boy, busy night. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I kind of started giggling when you talked about Obama teaches how to pray. First of all, you got a sodomite trying to teach us Christians how to pray. It don't make sense.
Yes, there you go.
And then, if you really wanted to teach us how to pray, and he was a legitimate guy, he'd do an executive order to put prayer everywhere again, back in schools, in football games, and everywhere.
That's true too.
Exactly.
So, I mean, he's just a lying, piece of
He's
what.
delusional.
You know, you can't keep up with this line of thought. You're making way too much sense. We can't have that. You know what you're talking about. We can't have that.
You're not.
Well, and I think he's a Muslim.
Not. I think. I know.
Pretty much.
And the Muslims' goal is to overtake the world with their religion, and
That is true.
that's led them in this country. He wants to let them take over this country too.
That is true too.
You know, people need to ask, why do the Saudis have 100,000 tents capable of taking care of 1 million refugees, and they don't want them?
And they got the money to afford it.
Exactly.
They do.
No, they want to ship them over here.
This shooting in California today, they didn't say if it was with nationality for the people that did it, but I can tell you, I think it's Muslims.
Well, Jim and I were just discussing that with the production staff here, and we're kind of curious in the end if we get the truth as to who
Which
this
we
was and what the motivation is. Because always remember,
Three of them.
Yeah, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. We don't know who the regime will blame for this or who they will.
The guns did it.
Yes, it's all about the guns. It's never about the
The
people.
guns walked right in that building.
Well, look in Chicago. They've got all these guns in Chicago that get up and chase and kill people, and not a single person on the street is responsible. Al Sharpton says that.
4,700 shootings.
What scares me up is, the black people, this Black Lives Matter stuff, and they're aborting so many black children every year, the Planned Parenthood and everything. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's those good Democrat organizations,
But you know what? Conversations I've had recently with different blacks, that they don't give me the picture that I get from the thugs. Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Thugs. And I really want to say that one of the things they've learned to do is and we found out now they're mad in Missouri, is it? Is it Soros?
Yeah,
It's
we
not
were-
going to pay them.
Yeah, we were getting ready to lead into that. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but we had a very, very good story that Mr. Soros, the elite banker himself, has financed the whole shabacle that happened in Ferguson. So let's get this straight. We have the Michael Brown lie of
Yeah.
hands up, don't shoot, that not only forensic evidence, but other black people that were interviewed refuted. so that all the Hollywood celebrities and all the other, famous pretty people are wrong. Now we have the protesters who caused an estimated $4.2 million in damage up there are protesting themselves because George Soros's foundation promised them $5,000 a month in pay to go up there. And his organization is called MORE, Missourians Organizing for Reform and Empowerment. They took over after ACORN was done. Now, here goes the more interesting part. Soros's foundation, I just learned, has been investigated in Russia and is considered a national security threat. Now, we have got a guy by the name of Mark Toner from the U.S. State Department who is outwardly complaining that the Russians are being too hard on George Soros. Folks, we can't make this up.
No.
We couldn't dream this stuff up. If Jim and I both got us each a 12-pack, we couldn't come up with this stuff.
No.
So let's recap this for you. We have an international billionaire who has gotten together with protesters to cause $4.2 million in damage, and none of them have been prosecuted, and neither has he.
You know what's going to be the nice thing about heaven?
What's that?
He won't be there.
Oh! You're trying to imply he's going to need a 10,000 BTU Frigidaire where he's going to be sitting?
Yeah, I'd like to shovel a coal for the furnace.
Well, you know what they say about the jihadis, huh? They say it's a funny thing. The jihadis all want to kill themselves to get 72 virgins. And the last one who killed himself, when he opened his eyes, he woke up and Yasser Arafat was leaning over him and said, "Hey, get up. Ted Kennedy's bringing the girls, Joe Stalin's got the cards, and Uncle Adolf has got the beer. We're playing cards in the back." The company is great.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole gun control thing, and we're going to get into another one of our favorite subjects a little later, climate.
Oh, that great lie.
Yeah, I'd printed out just before I left to come to the show. I checked some stuff on the computer and printed out 3 articles on the security.
Let me let you go, boy.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, now that you're on climate control, explain this to me. You know a lot about this. How does Brother Obama go to Paris and equate climate change with jihadi terrorism? I'm confused.
Yeah, and so am I.
Oh, another call.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Mr. I just want to, Austin, do pray on it. Here's some prayers from Mr. Tom.
Thank you.
And you mentioned killing people with machetes in Cambodia. How many millions of people Pol Pot killed over there?
Millions.
If you remember correctly.
Exactly, I do.
Khmer Rouge.
Yeah, it was called the Killing Fields.
Yeah.
And George Soros needs to be shot.
Well, if the Russians have anything to say about it, I think they would be more than happy to take care of Mr. Soros from what
I don't think he'll be going to the Kremlin anytime soon.
I don't think he goes too far from the continental U.S. I think people have warrants out for him. I think Interpol has a warrant for him.
More than likely.
He's ripped off too many people. Austin, you going to be at the meeting tomorrow night?
Yeah.
We're going to have some information for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at the meeting tomorrow night.
Excellent.
Awesome. I'll be
Okay.
there. I'll be there later.
And what about it? Give you all comments on our new supposedly elected governor?
Well, he was standing on the same podium with Bobby Jindal out in public. Lightning didn't strike him, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Go ahead, Austin.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. We'll
Yes,
see
sir.
you all tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. Bye.
So that's the interesting thing about this whole situation, Jim.
Calls tonight. Oh,
Here's another one.
Jesus. Go ahead, caller.
I think we need to introduce George Soros a little slower so that people can understand. He's one of the richest men in the world. He's trying to destroy public education in America. He's the one behind Common Core and all the destructive things that Common Core is doing in our schools, including letting gay and lesbians use them interchangeably. Now, they came out in the Department of Education said you can't discriminate. If a boy says she's a girl, he can use a girl's bathroom. If a girl says she's a boy, she can use a boy's bathroom. This is going nationwide now. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yes,
To further destroy public education.
that's the
My
goal.
question to Jim is this. What is George Soros' end game? Let me take a hazard a guess. He wants to create anarchy in America, break down the American government, and replace it with what? Now, I know you can conjecture an educated guess. What's George Soros' end game? We know he destroyed in England. He caused so much deconstruction over there. But I want to get to the quick. What's his end game, real quickly? Can you tell us about it?
I'm not sure 100% what George Soros is. He's always been on the left-wing side of things. He you know, what gets me when we look at the George Soroses and all these big wealthy people, the guy that runs Facebook and
Mark Zuckerberg.
and the Clintons and all that. I coming from a small town in Pennsylvania of 400 people, growing up in the middle of where this country was born, basically, and seeing that, the Gettysburg battlefield growing up, Washington, D.C. and Virginia weren't far away, and Philadelphia, they made their money in our economic system.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you turn that into the hatred that they have for this country?
It's called greed and power. It comes
And
down to
that's exactly what it's about.
that's what drives these people, and us regular common folks really can't understand or fathom what goes on in these people's minds because they're not like us. They're a whole different breed of cat.
I once said to Tom, if I came back, I would go be a politician and serve one term and get a lifetime retirement of $170,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom says, no, you wouldn't. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you have morals.
Yeah, you never make it.
He said, you have morals, and you wouldn't get elected. And you know what? That's a point. When you look at the picture in Washington, D.C., how could you soundly, and there's something else, and we'll never get to it, this is normal, but there's a ESEA act that's going on right now, probably got passed today, that's total control of our children. How could you, as a person, even think about passing that? Go ahead, caller.
All right. To answer to your question, what George Soros deal is,
Go ahead.
it's like when the devil went up to Jesus on the mountain and said, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you the whole world.
Amen.
The deal is he thought he was more powerful than God. So these wealthy people, I think they're following the wrong savior. Okay, because it's not about power with Jesus Christ. It's about the spirit with Jesus Christ. It's about giving, forgiving, and love,
But that's what we've always talked about. The people like Soros and the Hillary Clintons of the world worship at the altar of the almighty dollar.
Amen.
And that is the root of a lot of evil. What's one of the seven deadly sins? One of them is what? Greed?
Greed.
Oh, yeah. But, and then again, I don't know if you know where the Sodomite population came from. I think it's from the fallen angels when they tried to convert people. They blatantly disregard the power of God and the order of God. So
That's true.
That's got to be devil too.
It
It's got
is.
to be,
But the problem that we have in modern society, and a lot of churches have fallen prey to this. Religion has become commercialized, and it's all well and good to pray the Bible and to study, But there are people out there, and there are churches all over that
Oh.
do not fully understand that there is a devil, there is evil in this world, and evil doesn't just lay down and stop because you say it should. We only have to go back, about 80 years, and there was a guy with a funny little mustache called Adolf Hitler. And it took the mobilization of the United States and everything we had to face off with him and the other Axis powers. And some of the things that the Germans did and some of the things that the Japanese did were horrific beyond explanation. And they didn't just stop. We saw how well that worked when Neville Chamberlain went and met with Hitler. We saw how well that appeasement worked when Winston Churchill is jumping up and down about here comes the force, here comes Nazis and what's going to happen, and look what it took to stop them. It took a lot.
I want to add to that because people seem to not understand what happened in Nazi Germany. How did he get control?
Oh, kind of like this country.
Yeah, he took the guns, which I'm telling you people, never give up them guns. Number one, he did that. Number two, he took control of the kids.
Oh, like they're doing now.
Yeah. And
Common
number three, who did he crucify? Who did he crucify?
Mm-hmm.
The Jews.
And he took control of the media.
Yes.
And he took control of the media. So
Just like
when
Hitler.
I sent an email to the school board and it had Nazis, I wasn't sending it calling them Nazis. I was trying to educate them about history.
But Jim, they have a Common Core education. They just won't get it.
And I got some
Hate mail.
well, I didn't get hate mail, but I got some phone calls and I got the replies to that email. My answer to them was get past the word Nazi and read what it says happened in Germany. History repeats itself. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't pay attention, history repeats itself.
And you know what's
And that
funny?
is exactly what's going on. I have a sheet in here with a bill, okay? It's called ESEA reauthorization, ramming through a bad deal for Americans' children. It's not just a bad deal for Americans' children, it's a bad deal for the parents. And it's Every Student Succeeds Act. Now you tell me, as a kid growing up, I had to make the baseball team, the 11 and 12-year-old. I didn't get put on the team, I had to make it. And then to play, I had to be one of the better players. And I didn't have to play in every game.
But Jim, we have to discuss the level playing field. That's the terminology the left-wing progressives want to put out there, that we need a level playing field. Well, first off, life isn't fair. Second, there's going to be a winner and a loser. And third, the kids need to learn that there are bumps and bruises that come from life, and there are no safe zones as they are asking for.
I can tell you, when growing up, my grandparents raised me.
Mm-hmm.
There was no safe zone with my grandfather. You know? You know what I
Let me tell
mean?
you this is important to me. The five most important, I wouldn't say most important, but the most special words in Scripture is when Mary, Jesus' mother, was at the wedding feast of Cana, and she wanted Jesus to turn the water into wine. He said, "It's not my time yet." And she told the servants this: "Do whatever he tells you." Now, those are very important words, because if you do whatever Jesus tells you, you'll be okay not only in this life, but in the next life.
That's the goal.
Exactly.
It's when some preacher sits up there and says, "You don't have to do this. It's in Scripture, but you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And we can pick and choose this." That's a problem for me.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I'm Catholic, but when Jesus sent out his apostles to go forgive men's sins, and there's some preacher stand up there, "You don't have to do that. Why go confess your sins to a man?" Well, that's absolutely telling you not to do what Jesus told you.
And I agree.
That's a problem.
I
for
agree
me.
too.
I don't do it.
That's
See,
true.
I would not take that advice. I believe Jesus shall be over some preacher.
But you look at some of the preachers that are in the forefront.
Oh, I know.
Jesse-
I know. It's
Jesse
not the
Jackson,
gospel, dude.
Al Sharpton.
Jeremiah
The
Wright.
rest to be rich. You know, they're ridiculous. You know.
Why are they in the game? They're in the game for money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, not one of them. And then there's the almighty one, Al Farrakhan.
Oh, we're not even going to go down the Farrakhan road. He's a
You
Muslim.
know, I mean, but when you sit and look at that, I look at things like kids see more stuff today than we did when we were growing up.
Just by the media and the computer.
Just by the media and the computer.
Well,
So
absolutely.
what are we teaching them? You
Well,
know,
he's recruiting for Satan.
that's right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
are
now,
brainwashing
that's what
our
it is.
children.
It's a recruitment tool for the evil one.
I mean, you just look. I've been deeply involved in this Common Core deal. And when you get as deep as I've gotten into this and people around me who are teachers and educators and listen to them talk, you better be worried about what happened 80 years ago.
But you know, Jim, the thing that I've always tried to impress about the Common Core issue that came out during the election is that out-of-state billionaires spent millions of dollars to get select individuals elected for a position that has no salary. And people need to understand, if they're going to spend millions of dollars to get somebody elected for a job
There's
that doesn't
a
pay,
reason.
a deep reason. Somebody somewhere is making big dollars off of this, and that should scare the pants off of people.
But the thing is that it's not all off of education. Eli Broad and his wife have hooked up with Lane Grigsby out of Baton Rouge, and Paul Pasternak is the head of what? To build charter schools in Louisiana. You know what just happened this week at the Bessie Board meeting? East Baton Rouge School District does not want 2 charter schools. Guess what? They're gonna get them.
Anyway,
Bessie has too much power.
yes.
They can, first of all, in Lafayette Parish, we voted against charter schools. Now we got 3 or 4 of them.
How is
Because
that?
the charter schools went to the Bessie Board because there's another step that can take them around the school board. And I'm telling you right now, that I don't remember the name of the organization, but there is an organization already formed to put 5 new schools here, 5 new ones in Baton Rouge, 5 new ones in Lake Charles, 5 new ones in Shreveport. This is organized across the state,
And the money's going to flow.
and the money's coming. And,
Let me ask you a question. What do you think this our new governor is going to do with the Syrian refugees?
He's going to let them in.
I think he will go with his partner in Washington, D.C.
And I'll tell you something else, too.
There's a fight that I'm telling you right now. I've already talked to Monsignor Millet. Our first conversation was very civil. And
This is going to backfire on John Bell Edwards, because the first time he lets those jihadis, and let's be honest, we've seen the pictures, there's no women, there's no kids. All you got is a bunch of military-aged, good-shaped, hard-looking, non-refugee-looking, well-fed
a crappy
guys.
statement
Right.
vetting them.
And there's no vetting.
There is no vetting.
And what's going to happen is the first bunch of those guys who get loose and hurt somebody, it's going to go right back to John Bell Edwards' door, and then you're going to watch him duck and dodge and squirm like the good liberal Democrat he is and try to get out of it. And it's going to be his responsibility because he wanted them. Now, you'll notice he already blows with the political winds. He's learned from the Clintons. First, he says he backed Obama. Then when he went head-to-head with Vitter, all of a sudden we had the Paris attack, and oh no, we might not be able to do those refugees. Let's see what he does now. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, here's an article. The Daily, what's Tom call it? The Daily
The Advocate.
Adverlier. They put articles in the paper from USA Today with no author. We don't know who wrote it. Anyways, for a national publication, USA Today must not have any real journalists and or they're not interested in the facts. This was written by a guy from Youngsville. The editorial in the Daily Advertiser is full of half-truths and misinformation. Really? Oh,
No,
gee.
Jim, no.
You better watch it. You're going to be in my room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They state that unlike overwhelmed European countries forced to vet migrant only after they arrive, the U.S. won't let refugees in until they have gone through lengthy checks. At least 4 agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, check credentials and background and conduct multiple interviews of applicants, rejecting them if their stories don't check out.
But, Jim,
How are they going to check out their stories? There's no data.
and look at the hypocrisy. They're investigating refugees more than they investigated Obama when he was running for president.
Exactly. That sounds good, but unfortunately, the FBI has publicly stated that they have no way to vet Syrians.
Well, let's let the other shoe fall.
Oh, God.
The Drudge Report was reporting that 14,000 refugees in Sweden have disappeared. And here come, let's drop the other shoe. Another news publication said that there is a large percentage of these refugees that are coming through that are HIV positive.
Uh-huh.
Now, folks, what time of year is it? You feel that little chill outside? Wait until Sweden, Germany, and Austria experience that nice, snowy European winter. And what do Muslim jihadis do? They're not going to sleep outside in the cold. They're going to do a home invasion.
Desert, yeah.
And then we're going to see what the crime rate does.
Well, and he goes on. He said it's not like you can call an agency and review their database, which does
What
not
database?
exist. Yeah. I can only assume USA Today editors missed the following comment by FBI Director James Comey he got in trouble for this too.
Oh, yeah, he's talking out of school.
He said that the Syrian refugees specifically would be especially difficult to screen because little data is available to the FBI. Oops.
We can't
Obama mustn't
we
have
can't
liked
identify
that.
who they are, where they are, what they come from. They could say they were anybody.
I guess some in government has a different opinion than the USA Today editors, if only we knew who those editors were. The editorial went on to say that the process worked since 9/11. The U.S. has admitted 784,000 refugees, of whom 3 have been arrested for plotting terrorist attacks. Tell that to the families of the Boston Marathon. Tragedy.
And notice the percentages of Christians that have been let in. It's less than
yeah.
1% of 1% of Christians.
1,500 Syrian Christians were denied. Were totally denied. It says, Earth to USA Today. The FBI and Homeland Security currently have 1,000 ISIS investigations ongoing, plus numerous attempts have been thwarted.
Now, you know, Jim, that's an interesting factoid because I don't know if the listeners understand. The FBI has all of this stuff ongoing on. Do y'all know that if a cow comes down with the mad cow disease, that the agriculture department can go through the whole continental U.S., through every cow herd, and they can find that single cow very quickly and isolate it. But the FBI can't seem to find these guys.
We can't find one guy that's split from
Yeah.
Baton Rouge.
We can find one cow that has nothing on the computer, no cell phone, and no identifying characteristics, but we can't find illegals or we can't find jihadis to be able to take care of them.
You know what? You asked the question.
On Michelle Obama and prove that he's a man.
I'm not going there.
We're not going to touch that
We're
one.
not going to touch that one. We get in enough trouble.
Yeah.
But you're right about the refugees. I think Edwards is going to push it. But I will tell you now that I put out emails and I got a lot of feedback. And I'm not going to reveal what all that feedback is at this point in time. But I don't think they want to do that, if you get my hint. Just from the feedback that I got from people. Number one, I will give Monsignor Millett this. He did say that him and the bishop spoke and that the one thing they were concerned about was the danger that it might pose for the people in the local
And
population.
Jim, that's another thing that's going to come out. What will the Catholic diocese say if some of the people they personally vetted go out and do a parish-style attack?
I don't know, you know.
Could be
there's-
bad.
You know, I'm very personal friends with Monsignor Millet, and he probably has the clearest head I know.
He's a good guy. He's pretty much up front. I've met with him on other subjects previous to this, and I also know him because he comes some Sundays and takes care of the business at the church at St. Edmunds. So I like Monsignor Millet. We're going to run out of time here on the first half,
I see y'all.
but we appreciate your comments, buddy.
All right, bye.
But, you know, we never get through. It don't change whether it's Tom and me or you or whoever it is. We never get through everything, but we got more coming in the second hour. Just a good pile of stuff. More on the Syrian refugees.